And it is the morning of the 18th of May, 2016. I'm Dana Durnford TheNuclearProctologist, who's at a forecast. Come on, Mr. Cameraster, Mr. Hard Time. Right off the bat, resuscitation mode on the camera. Good job, Dana. Get rid of the Dana TheNuclearProctologist. I got a big show today. TEPCO is completely out of control. This is a corporation. We're going to give them the gears and then some today. We're excited to be streaming again. I just lost the audio. I should have changed my headphones when I had a chance. And that's okay too. And what you got to realize is that Fukushima happened. And some days I wig out. Some days I'm a little crazy. And some days I can get completely out of control. What are you going to do? Sue me? Arrest me? I tried it all. It didn't work. I keep coming back every day. Here's my explanation of number 4. Somebody want to tell Seth I'm over here at Unit 4 waiting for him? Huh?
He's at the other building.
What?
He's at the other building.
He said the fake Unit 4?
Yeah.
This is what TEPCO wants us to see, the heart of the decommissioning work taking place here in Reactor 4.
Oh, Jesus, I'm in Unit 4! I'm in Unit 4, I'm in Unit 4, I'm in Unit 4, I'm in Unit 4. I'm in Unit 4. I'd be dead. I wouldn't get that far because the rods, if you're that close to the rods, they'll melt your organs. That's all fuel rods. And the building is missing anyway, right? And David Suzuki, and let's end it on that. And I got a bunch of headlines we're going to run through to start the day off. Good morning, everybody. So let me get this straight. David Suzuki says if number 4 goes, and I'm in number 4, according to TEPCO and Seth Dorn and Miles O'Brien, who said they've been in this same building, that if this building tips over, well, I got no idea how that one's going to happen, but if it tips over, it's bye-bye Japan, and you got to evacuate North America.
I have seen a paper which says that if, in fact, the 4th plant goes under an earthquake and those rods are exposed, it's bye-bye Japan, and everybody on the west coast of North America should evacuate. Now, if that isn't terrifying, I don't know.
I don't know what it is. No, it's a good point. And that's the problem, is that we got one side saying there's a perfect building, and then we got the documentation showing the building actually doesn't exist. And that side happens to be everybody that we're stuck with. But the reality is what we're stuck with too, right? So we can't keep ignoring it. We can't keep pretending this is not happening for much longer. We can get away with it for another little tiny bit, but that's about it. If we're lucky. We lose our audio on my end. That's my headphones, not your headphones. Am I streaming? Dana. Good morning, everybody. Never Killer. Just flash over for the headlines. And probably could have made that a bit bigger. I'm having a hard problem with that camera. Let's bring up the other camera. Maybe that one's. Good morning, everybody. There's Shani again. Nip. Illusion. Checks and balances. CJ. Good morning, everybody. Jan Brooks. Miss Milky the Clown. 1 and Miss Milky the Clown original on YouTube. Never stops. Has been harassed lately. And that has to stop. John McGowan. If they're going to harass anybody out there that are public like that, we got to put our support behind these people. That's just that camera there, didn't it? That's just the way we got to run this, right? That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the nature that the industry is out of control. TEPCO is completely out of control. I mean, they spent 12 million yen or something originally on Twitter to censor Twitter. Then they got teams of puke machines out there going into our countries, into our communities, into our press clubs, and telling fables that are unimaginable. I'll show you one of the fables from TEPCO, just 7 weeks ago. But first, I have no idea what I got there. Oh yeah, let's run through a couple of these headlines first. Rain with 20 million particles of radioactive iodine-131. That's September 19, 2000. And the Simon Fraser University. So E&E News just aggregated the media that was talking about it, or the universities or the institutions or the press clubs or whatever releases, and then linking you over there, right? That's all that is. Average person in Seattle breathes in 10 hot particles a day. Now, we haven't stopped hearing about that one, thank goodness. But does that mean that we shouldn't talk about that every friggin' time, endlessly, and expand on the reality of it and look how, see how bad it really truly was? I don't know. I don't know if I want that answer. Radiation data from Seattle area survey may be withheld by feds for national security purpose. In other words, even though you paid for it, you paid for the studies. Particularly that middle model, which is NOAA. So, but the data was withheld for national security. Yeah, because they turned off the monitors across your country. They allegedly 99 out of 150 of them broke down. So instead of replacing them, instead of the company being embarrassed and fixing them, or replacing them or something like that, no, they just closed the whole thing down. Oh well. Fukushima didn't happen. Dana, stop saying Fukushima is real. Because the modelings apparently don't mean nothing. 7,000 becquerels of tritium is man-made. And that's the reason you're seeing that is because they withheld it, and there was 20 million particles in a liter of rainwater. In a liter of rainwater. Do you drink water? Do you think the rainwater don't go into your reservoirs of fresh water? Are you really that gullible? Are you taking a nice shower and getting in your hot tub? Your hot tub's 1,000 liters cubic meter. So 7 million becquerels of man-made ionizing radiation. Tritium, oh Dana, tritium is okay, Dana. It's just radiated water with everything else in it. It's hard to see these studies, but if you look at tritium, studies through, even in Canada, I gotta bring up this one so you can read that one. There's 10 becquerels. Yeah? But Canada's drinking water standards right now, Dana, anytime you're ready. Here's Canada's, that's not the one I wanted. Hang on, I got it. I got too much. It's more like it. That's what I got. Here's a better one. Very high quality. It'll be up at Beautiful Girl by Dana in 1080 after. Pam says the stream wouldn't let her see. Is the stream okay? Morning, everybody. Okay, let's keep going. Tritium-3H now in Canada, 7,000 becquerels. Make your point, Dana, move on. Well, you shouldn't have to run through something so important, should you? You should be able to take your time and explain it. It was pre-Fukushima 10 becquerels. They had 400 becquerels from an accident. Now we got 7,000 a liter. This is September. This is Canada, what you're looking at right now. Okay, but anyway, tritium. Let's put me back in the screen. Oh, I got to play Dr. Dana with this now. I do everything myself. Hang on. I'm trying. Get the wrong camera for that. Let's keep going. Another camera. That one. Okay. Why are you so close to the camera, Dana? You're scaring the kids. I'm sorry, I'll go back a little tiny bit. Yeah, that's better. Tritium radioactivity in the aquatic environment. What year was that? Who knows? Off the top of my head. But anyway, as you look through the studies, some of them, all of them are on tritium actually. And what you discover as you start reading through it, you'll be able to read through all that. I'll bet Beautiful Girl by Dana on YouTube after, because it'll be in such high quality. You'll read every single nuance of it. Really legible, just stunning. And that's true. That means I got to work an extra couple of hours now every day to accomplish that. But I think it's so important to have a very high quality, so I don't lose touch with what I'm trying to accomplish, right? Is put this documentation out there, and even if it's re-uploaded over and over and over by different people from different sites, it's still be legible down the road for a long time. Such high quality is what I'm trying to accomplish. And so everybody is equal. They're able to look at the documentation and get up to speed and postulate and go from there and understand the significance. But throughout our planet, pre-Fukushima, there was no man-made, so it didn't exist. But since we had nuclear power, pre-Fukushima and Chernobyl accident, well, Fukushima in particular, even we got studies on after Chernobyl, was just 4-7 becquerels a liter, or cubic liter, or 100 liters, right? Say 4 to 7 becquerels. In different countries, at different times, around the world, in front of a nuclear power plant sometimes. And that's the studies. That's what and that's just a handful. There's nothing of studies that I actually got. It's just, but it showed, even as you start looking throughout the world, you start understanding how tritium really truly affects and carbon-14, because it's from a chain reaction. And so every time you run into these little puzzles, you got to work out, why did that happen, right? As you're exploring these topics and these, and you really got to go down that road, and you got to make sure that you got good sources and everything else. And so that's the result of what you see when I blog. Is I went down so many of these roads, and I have that luxury and that latitude to be able to do that, because we live in that one time in history, at one point on this planet, where we can equal the score with a simple video. And you know, the crazies and the public relation firms are going to have their way with you everywhere else, and attack you and destroy you, literally into into non-existence, with the most stupid and moronic interpretations or slurs, or just, it's ridiculous how good information is not welcomed. How showing you the studies, pre-Fukushima and post-Fukushima maybe, that don't seem to matter. There goes my camera again, eh? Come on, Dana. I don't know what's going on. I think I'll move that a little tiny bit closer. Hang on. Don't screw nothing up by doing that, I'm sure. I know I went in and set off the... turned off all the automation and anything like that was in, so let's keep going. But anyway, it's bad stuff. It's really bad stuff. It's well known. It's well known. Well known. Now, there's this study that you're looking at that time. There's other studies showing 6 times more breast cancer within 15 miles of a nuclear power plant. But if you actually went all the way up to 50 miles, you would get a real number. But cancer is the last one that shows up. There's 1,800 diseases that are going to show up before cancer. There's 22% more leukemias if you're within 15 miles of a nuclear power plant. And multiple studies now. Just short studies, independent in a sense, but got published. Yeah. So the barriers have long been broken. Now we have 7,000 becquerels, apparently, by the maniacs in the government, per liter. How many liters do you drink a day? You shower and bathe and wash your clothing. This got a 112-year half-life. Or lifespan. 12-year half-lives. So then it changes from tritium. So what they're trying to say tritium is just tritium-3H, which is from a chain reaction, and it's bad. And now they have, because it was only like a few becquerels getting out, and they were doing all kinds of studies on that. Now they got 7,000, because they had big accidents, in our drinking water. In your drinking water. Because you got to think about how all the nuclear power plants are on the river in Ontario, on the lake, which is the drinking water. For how many millions of people? My goodness. Eastern Canada, all the way down to Eastern Canada. That's flowing, used for drinking water. Then you got Montreal, and you got Ontario. And you're boiling the water when it comes through, full of the natural bacteria that your body needs, thrives on. Everything on this planet needs bacteria. But you're discharging all this radiated water from all these accidents you're not reporting, from all the nuclear waste and all the site. And that tritium, it has to be replaced every 12 years in the bombs. And so they have to produce all this tritium on purpose to keep the bombs active. Because after 12 years, that tritium has to be replaced. They're just maniacs. They're out of control. Someone's in a nuclear power structure says, oh, it's like a banana and a potato chip and walking in the sunshine. And therefore, policyholders go, ha, 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 and signs a law saying they're allowed to dump it. And then they increase the levels and say it's the acceptable level. That's the Health Canada drinking water standards now since Fukushima. This is shocking. Utter betrayal of their job. You paid them to protect you. You paid them to find it. You paid them to tell us about it. We paid them. They work for us. We don't work for them. They work. These creatures got a job and thinks that all of a sudden that they have the high ground or the moral ground or something like that. You are so wrong and so out of touch with the Bills of Rights and the Constitutions or the Magna Cartas that will bring you down and tear your little world apart in the near future. Just like all the other ones out there. Nothing to do with me. It's got to do with the reality of the death of the Pacific Ocean. Let's keep going. And what you're doing to us by allowing, without creating filters, without even trying. When we have 4,300 academic studies published every day, we have the ability to filter a lot of this out if we tried. We have the ability to stop the reactors in Japan if we tried. We won't try. If this was a meteorite, which is what it is, in slow motion, not that slow, it just killed the Pacific Ocean. We took on that whole coastline. Think about that. We took on that coastline. We're losing the camera again today, over and over and over. I'll move back and zoom or something. Maybe that'll make it. Who knows? Just give me a moment. I'm going to change cameras with the other camera next time, I think. Switch out to two cameras. That one don't seem to give me any headaches. I don't know what's going on, but anyway, let's keep going. We took the whole coastline. We ran through it in this humble operation for 260 days, and instead of finding a coastline full of life, yeah, it was all gone. That's the Haida Gwaii and the Queen Charlotte's. So this is what you expect everywhere you go. This is the reality that you should encounter. No matter where you're on, what part of that beach, no matter what direction you're looking at. And that I was there on a supermoon when I was there. And so instead of seeing that, or anything like that, or anything resembling anything like that, this is the same spot, Louise and Earl's. So instead of that, you got that. Instead of that, you got that. That is shocking. And so this is what you had instead of this smorgasbord, this incredible diversity. Just keep losing focus on that camera. It's driving me nuts. But it is what it is. We'll keep going because it's not about the video so much as it is about what's on the screen. We're not losing focus on the screen. Just I'll switch out those cameras. Maybe that'll resolve it. It's just cheap cameras. And proper cameras, you know, you're going to spend $1,500 minimum to be able to do what I want to do properly anyway at some point. In order to do the 3D effects, in order to give you that incredible perfection that's coming, I'm going to have to upgrade all the studio except for the software I got, which is the very foundation of everything, and it's number one. It's, you know, 11 computers have been killed. I've learned a lot. And so instead of that, this is what we've seen on the Expeditions for Life throughout that whole coastline. And so what should be the reaction when you do that whole coastline? That is all that you see. Right? Is that not the question? That camera is really buggy, so my apologies. I got no idea. Let's have one more little go at it. See what's going on. It just refuses to cooperate, eh? I noticed it before sometimes it's done that, but I had purposely went in and turned off all the settings, so just a raw file, just so I wouldn't do no face tracking, no boxes would show up, and I had to go through, and maybe I'll do it again. Good morning, everybody. My apologies. Let's keep going. Okay, back on track. So, back to the headlines that I was trying to cover originally. There's a couple of, like, 5 headlines left to cover there. So let's cover them. We covered this one. That one. Radiation withheld. You can see at the top left, bottom left, the top right are models based upon 2 days releases from a single reactor. And the model you're looking at there is based upon 2 days releases from a single reactor. That's Noah's model. It's not based upon the meltdowns, melt-throughs, or melt-outs of all the reactors. Government may have delayed level 7 ratings to ease people into the reality. And you had 40 million becquerels of iodine in a single bed of kelp. So if you were going to check, truly go and check for radiation, if Woods Hole was going to check, and if you watch their videos, they say don't get any kelp in containers before you send it to them and give them $600. Well, they don't want the kelp because kelp aggregates to man-made radiation also. It's completely different than a natural iodine that's there. And they used iodine 131, then there was 10 times more iodine 132, 30 times more iodine 133, 31 times more iodine 129, and these all came from a chain reaction. These were all dirty bombs. These are different than anything you've ever encountered. And this is why we got terrorist laws. This is why we got, we're attempting to create repositories. This is why we have nuclear waste holding sites. There's no actual waste site on this planet as such. We have a nuclear waste holding site. And we have an industry that is extremely abusive. You can look at the context of Dr. Raymond Gilmedi. And what they done was they killed beagle dogs and beagle puppies with man-made radiation. He's still in business. For 35 years at Loveless Respiratory Research Institute in New Mexico. He has 94 studies. I'll bring it up in a better format. Size of a... These are studies on dogs, and he's still doing them on dogs, killing dogs. And the ultimate, they've never saved a dog, but for 35 years, they take these lots of dogs. This one was 144. Many other, there's thousands of these Gilmedis and these institutions doing this, by the way. And what they showed was that, you can read it yourself, tumors in lungs, skeleton, and liver occurred beginning after 3 years. Bone tumors found in 93 dogs were the most common cause of death. Liver tumors were found in 20 dogs, but were the cause of death in only 2 dogs, even though they still had liver. So they had multiple tumors occurred later than tumors in the bones and lung. And tumors in these 3 organs often occurred in the same animal and were competing causes of death. And these findings in dogs suggest that similar dose-related biological effects could be expected in humans exposed to that. Now you got to realize one of these statements they're talking about curium. Wait for it, sorry. So curium isotopes are the major byproduct in irradiated fuel rods. So he done curium isotopes on the dogs, and then the application to human exposure data. But they acted the same way as the plutonium, right? And so they also used americium, and he's still killing beagle dogs and beagle puppies at Loveless Respiratory Research in New Mexico. And no matter who you are or what planet you come from, if you spend 35 years killing dogs and you can't cure the dogs, at what point do you say, hey, you know, this stuff is actually dangerous? And when you think of the thousands of institutions like the Dr. Raymond Gilmedi, now this is KRQE Channel 13 had rolled him out. And what he said was that there was no radiation going to make it all the way over from Japan because the jet streams weren't real. And so as I investigated him and looked at what he'd done, I was wondering why. You can see in the background of that picture, he has Loveless Respiratory with dark sunglasses. And so that made me curious, so I went looking to see who he was. And he's got 94 dog studies, killing hundreds of dogs and beagle puppies in particular, and plus other animals. But for 35 years killing. So is not their study, is not just his study alone worthy we're talking about in context of what nuclear is truly like? Or do we just pretend it's like a banana and a potato chip till at what point are we going to address the actual issue? And so Gilmedi never tried to cure the animals because you couldn't. See? For 35 years. And there's thousands of Gilmedis just in North America killing beagle dogs and beagle puppies and every other creature out there with all the isotopes, but particularly the curium. So iodine and cesium are tracers. Strontium is a tracer. It's considered a tracer. They're able to build cheap equipment to find it, accurate equipment to find it. And so once you found that, then you were able to calculate, extrapolate from whatever that number was. So if it was cesium, there was 100 times more strontium. If it was iodine 131, there was 31 times more than 129. But these came from a chain reaction. These were ionizing and radiating. These are not the same stuff in our solar system or in the periodic tables. They are created from uranium and plutonium during a chain reaction at that point. That's why they're referred to as like little supernovas and suns. But they're the different element than what is created by the universe itself, by our sun. They have the same atomic number and then some sometimes. And that's because they have all these different daughters, etc., etc. And then they decay. Well, this one decays in 15 million year half-life. We don't ever know how accurate they were. But a pound of this will kill everybody in a theater. Yeah? That a Dixie cup full of it will kill everybody in a restaurant. And that a pound of it is in 1,500 buildings. 5,000 buildings, 5 million buildings, with 1,500 people walking in each building, is an exterminating in 20 minutes the entire planet. And you can do that with the fuel from a single reactor cycle. You can exterminate every human on this planet. But you can take a pound of it in cycles of 1,500 people and get rid of everybody on this planet in cycles of 20 minutes or so, or less. It's shocking how deadly this is, and that's why we have terrorist laws. So we have nuclear waste sites. And just because it's atomized in aerosol, or it's radiating other material, it gets atomized in aerosol when it's in a chain reaction. That's what it does. It's eating rocks and steel and cement till the end of time. And that is coming out, and that is the same danger. That's why we have terrorist laws. That's why we have all these billions of dollars thrown at the nuclear power plant. They got to give us money that's going to blow up. They keep throwing billions of dollars at them. Got to give us money, terrorists are going to get you. Yeah, but if you have an accident, then it's harmless, then it's innocent. Then there's nobody's health was harmed. Instant rollout of the puke, disgusting, pathetic puke machine in all your media, and TV and radio and movies. And so the truth is much different when you look at Gilmedi, yeah? When you look at those studies and you say, well, it's not like a banana or a potato chip now, is it? Huh? No. Tumors of the lung, skeletal, and liver occurred year after year, decade after decade for those dogs. There's 94 studies. Pick and choose to your heart's content, and none of them are going to help your cause for nuclear. None of them are going to help the cause of why this is so bad, why this accident has caused an extinction event. The microscopic world is affected. So, if I got a Becquerel in a krill, or in a phytoplankton, atom rather, in a krill or a phytoplankton, with these created in a chain reaction, and say it's cesium, or say it's whatever. So it's pumping out to here. So everything in that circumference, every minute, 1,440 minutes a day, is getting, and I got a good example here. Think about this, like, this kind of motion every minute. Think about, hang on, wait for it. Think about every second, 1,440 minutes a day in that krill or that herring or that anchovy. And they're in schools, and so they're pounding into everything around them. And if they're having eggs and everything else, they're pounding through those eggs. And studies had shown how codfish were almost extinct because of testing in the 50s and the 60s, right? in certain parts of the ocean, how the eggs were destroyed and the larvae was annihilated by high levels of radiation. But that's what a chain reaction going into your ocean, let's keep going. It's so important though. So friggin' important that people are able to wrap their mind around what we got done and who done it to us. And right now you got 3,000 of these beers that are emaciated up north. These wet, but there's 3,000 of them for the last 3 years have become like this beer here where they're emaciated. And that's by polar bears. That's because of the radiation. We've seen that in other countries over the last year now where the polar bears are emaciated because the studies that I show throughout the coastline, right, so if the birds are starving because when they came ashore, they couldn't find any anchovies or squid or anything else, they came ashore and this life was missing, see? The birds couldn't come ashore and feast anywhere and everywhere, could they? This is a picture of a bird I took, and this is what he was looking at. And I was out there for 260 days. And I am heading out again. And we're running this coastline again. We got an extinction event playing out. We have to get into these communities and get some interviews on top of that. In particular, at this stage of the game, this late stage of the game, and see if there's people in the community that are aware and want to share their documentation and information with us. And we have to flush out this coastline one more time, I guess. That's a better way of looking at it. And at the same time, we got to have a conversation about what's really going on. We got to tell the truth. We got to take into consideration the documentation we already got. Hell on earth, Chernobyl. This is 2006, time of Chernobyl. Just look at the third sentence from the top. And for the next 10 days, spewed equivalent of 400 Hiroshima bombs worth of radioactivity across 150,000 square miles. This is an incredible statement. I went out and pounded into that coastline for 260 days. We ran into everything. And there was no way that I was coming back until I seen that entire coastline. Like every little bump there, day after day after day after day after day, no matter where you go, went through all the bad weather, and then 5 months straight through the winter. rather than come back and wait for spring, because I couldn't find life. I couldn't justify coming back till I seen that coastline for sure with my own 2 eyes and documented it and put it up at the nuclearproctologist.org. And that was my contribution. I haven't stopped since then, but that was my contribution. But what did that do to me, though? What that done to me was that made me realize the reality, the bitter, bitter, unimaginable reality and the significance of, of all these different facets of, here's one from Chernobyl. I'll make it small. I'm just going to manually cruise through it. So this is 21 hours after Chernobyl. Is it? Yeah. So this is 3 hours, 5 hours, 7 hours, 13, 15 hours, 20 hours. This is 24 hours. Hang on, right here. Wow. This is 48 hours, etc., etc. So you can see that in a very short while, you've covered the continents and the oceans. And now you can't drink the milk or sell the land in certain parts of Ireland, Scotland, UK, because of the radioactive fallout from Chernobyl that only lasted 10 days. 10 lousy days. Isn't that amazing? 10 days, and since then, 2 years ago, Switzerland opened its freshwater fishing industry. Last year, many, many polar bears, now they emit 3,200, all of them are starving to death. Think about it, they picked up 30 million bags of 1-ton bags. That's five rows of traffic. Each of these bags are, say, 1 ton. That would be 5 rows of traffic right around this planet of 1-ton trucks. And that's just in one little area. That's why we have polar bears all over the world. Just hang on one second now. See, I'll let you look at the ocean current for a second. I'll scoot down and get back on track here. Let's run through the reactors for very quick for everybody. Coming up. Fukushima is a nuclear power plant in Japan. It has 6 reactors on that site. All 6 of those couldn't get power. And remember that the fuel pool don't have containment buildings around them. So they had a 9.0 earthquake. This shook the country for 6 minutes. This was traveling at 9,000 miles per hour. This hit Florida in 35 minutes. And the aftershocks were unbelievable for several days later. At the same time, you had a tsunami run into that country. There is nothing can survive the awesome power, I shouldn't use those words, but this is incredible power. And so the nuclear power plants were no different. They were no different. They blew up. And they melted down, and the system lied about it the best they could, non-stop. The government delayed the level 7 rating. This is Unit 1. The fuel pools are stored up close to the roof. The damage there, and the emittance and the headlines and documentations and the photographs that we got show that it's all gone. And same thing for Unit 2, and they emit it. Same thing for Unit 3, and you don't have to be a genius. But apparently so. And the same thing for Unit 4. That's all gone. We have models based upon releases from a single reactor from Austria, from the Norwegian Institute of Air Research. These are just many, many that are out here. The URAD, modeling just based upon 2 days venting, not the actual detonations, not the meltdowns or the releases, or not the reactor pools full of reactor cores that were up high in the building, up close to the roof. And I'll show you TEPCO's documentations of those reactors, and they were all the same reactors, including 5 and 6. And then they were forced to end public forecasting. Miles O'Brien claims he's inside of a building, but there we go. But TEPCO, butt plugs are nuclear powered. Damage to Unit 2 is what prompted TEPCO to discuss evacuating Fukushima workers, perhaps because the reactor burned continuously for several days. So bye-bye. You can't get into these buildings ever. But that doesn't stop Seth Dorn, CBS, PBS from claiming that they are inside of it for some reason. Miles O'Brien, the arrogance of Miles, claiming he's in there and got a chest x-ray. Like Seth Dorn done the whole thing on it, right? So TEPCO done the same thing. TEPCO came out to the press club in Washington, and I screwed that up. But anyway, and he's crazy.
Fukushima Daiichi stage, right after the accident, it was of course the emergency condition.
Emergency condition right after the accident.
But right now, gradually,
but right now, gradually, wabbit,
became the decommissioning stage.
Became decommissioning stage. I'm an English interpreter.
More stable decommissioning stage.
Stable?
That's that, as I mentioned, the success.
Wait, whoa. What is that? Surely he's not trying to say Dad is inside of Dad. Oh my goodness. Obviously he made a mistake 7 weeks ago at the press club in Washington, D.C. My goodness, somebody should show him a picture of the buildings, what they actually looked like before. He tore it all down. Yeah, he done all of that. I mean, if it looked like that, they wouldn't need that big truck now, would they? They wouldn't need that big crane there, would they? If it was like that, how are you going to get water in if it looks into that, if it looks like that? Why would you bring in the world's biggest truck? That was unreal. Did he just say that's what he said, folks? He says that inside of that, I'm sorry, inside of that, even worse. Gradually. Now nobody can get in there. Nobody can get in there. Nobody can get in the other reactors. But just, all the reactors survived is ludicrous. Let's go back into the headlines that we still haven't got to. Radiation streaming into the atmosphere after number 4 pole boiled dry in a fire. It was fire. Now we got the NRC's declassified, redacted mostly, emails from March the 18th, and it shows it was all gone. They said it was bye-bye Japan. You got to abandon the west coast of North America. David Suzuki, he was right. He just waited 4 years to tell you, and then he came out and redacted it to create the confusion. And they rolled out the pictures of the beautiful fuel pool to deceive everybody with. Evidence of significant hole or crack in spent fuel. Oh, I suppose there was now. No kidding. One or more of the building's explosions ejected radioactive material around the site. Gee, I wonder what that was. You don't suppose the building that's not there done it, like that building there? No, it probably wasn't that, Dana. Maybe it was the mixed oxide MOX fuel number 3. Remember what happened to that country? Think about that power plant. Why it looks like that? It looks like that because that came true. Because that came through their country. This is not a game. This is not a fable. Look at that. Yeah, I got power hooked up to it. 45 minutes, Timmy. Oh, sure, boy. Yeah. How long do you think it took her to find her loved one? The police never even went looking for the bodies in the radiated areas for up to 3 months. They left it just like that for up to 3 months. The power plants are in the same spot as all the people died, 400 kilometers of the coastline. You have documentation after documentation of 15 reactors. You have a Fukushima governor demanding TEPCO, demands strongly, TEPCO decommission and dismantle all 10 reactors. All 10. Out of the 15 that were heavily destroyed. That's why you got 30 million bags. And they sprayed salt water, the sulfur peroxide hydrogen buckyball, all over it. Salt water created this phenomenon, this incredible phenomenon of sulfur. And it creates these little balls. And they're able to ingest all these atoms. And you think about a gram of natural has 160 atoms. But a gram of man-made has 88 times 37 billion. 88 curries. Each curry is 37 billion. So natural is insignificant. Oh, Dana, there's more natural in the ocean than there is from man-made. Actually, there's not. 70 pounds of man-made, refined, gone through a chain reaction, say of cesium, is more atoms than all the natural stuff that's in the ocean, in potassium, 40, which everything on the planet is acclimated to through genetic superior selection that are irrelevant. Why would you even bring it up unless you're trying to deceive somebody or manipulate somebody, like your wives or your friends or your girlfriend or your family or your husband, or your aunts or your uncles? So you trick them all the time. Well, Grandpa, I work for a nuclear PR firm. I'm telling you, it's like a banana. You want to go in that home again? You want me and Georgie to put you in that home? You shut your pie hole. You better pass over that check each month, Grandpa. And kick you out of the basement. That's what the children of nuclear industry are like with their loved ones. They're vicious, unimaginable, inconceivable, violent thugs. But this phenomenon you're looking at, this is from peer-reviewed studies about the sulfur peroxide hydrogen buckyballs. Dana, how dare you talk about it, Dana? That's somebody else's study, Dana. Locked up behind a paywall by Elsevier, Springer, and Wiley, the 3 biggest publishers on the planet. Elsevier, Springer, and Wiley have 20,000 of the biggest publishing houses on the planet. They get the academic copyrights to all your studies, and they're locked up behind a paywall. Why would you publish anything in an academic journal when only 12 people are going to bother to pay to read it? Why would you do that to your loved ones? Why wouldn't you put it out there? Why do you give it away? Because information is that powerful. And certain people can come across and they can extrapolate inconceivable, unimaginable theories and just benefits to humanity with proper studies, access to the actual, Dana, the terrorists might get it and blow up the whole neighborhood. And think about how these peroxide hydrogen buckyballs spraying salt water in a reactor. It is a Hiroshima bomb every minute, 1,440 minutes a day in each reactor. They were doing it to a minimum. You're spraying water over fissionable product. They call it tritium. We call it mass murder on a genocidal ecocide scale that is now exterminated the west coast of Canada. It's time to evacuate the west coast of Canada. How are you going to tell people that one without pissing them off? How are you going to get the whole population to get out of harm's way like you done at the Titcher River in the 50s where they evacuated 7,500 communities? But you got the atomic energy and the IAEA and UNSCLEAR and ERPA and all these radiation experts that are just 100 people total, all on the same panels. So UNSCLEAR and United Nations are not international organizations. That's 100 people total. And they all serve on each other. They all go to barbecues and birthday parties for their little inbreeds. That's right. And they're teaching at your institutions and universities as payback. They're not qualified. They're mentally insane. They make videos saying it's like a banana and a potato chip and walking in the sunshine. It takes a certain lack of moral or complete understanding of what morals are to carry out that kind of function. And these people have children. That's the most frightening thing imaginable, what they might be doing to those children. Ted Bundy, there was a killer here in British Columbia who killed 10 kids. He had a wife and a child. And he negotiated settlement to take care of his wife and child, and he gave up 10 dead children's bodies. So even the most soulless, heartless thing on the planet still has their own little tiny paradigm that they'll protect with everything they got and give up everything they got in order to protect it. But nuclear would never, nuclear is different. They won't do that. They'll sacrifice their own children. You look at the history of nuclear proponents with sick children, and you'll say, what's going on here? Well, their friends will experiment on their neighbors' children. They kidnap dogs out of neighborhoods and take them and torture them to death. And animals, they've been doing this for a long time. They've never tried to cure cancer. They know how to kill the animal. I got study after study after they're really good at it. They know what kind of cancer, tumors, how long it's going to take, and they use hundreds of animals each day to do it. No painkillers, vicious tumors, unimaginable agony. They hold interviews right outside the building. They cut the vocal cords out of the dogs so they don't scare away the delivery pizza guys. But, you know, their friends that they had growing up used them to wipe their hands on after eating pizzas on top of that. That's the nuclear, pro-nuclear's whole purpose in life is for you to wipe your hands on after you eat pizzas. That's all they are good for at best. I'd be cautious. Ew! Can you imagine touching some of these nuclear people out there? Ew! Catherine. There's so many of these nuclear proponents that I would just keep going. Skipping past headlines. Dana, give it the program. So 20 million particles is nothing. That's just a tracer. See? All the other isotopes in the air. The joke's on you. So this is all aggregated at an energy website. TEPCO ready to release radiation information. Government have delayed level 7. Once again. One or more of the radioactive U.S. nuke industry report explosions. Once again, cameras screwed beyond imagination. Eh? Might as well make it a big screen. I'm going to hope that is... I'll change cameras tomorrow, maybe. Who cares? U.S. nuke industry explosions at Fukushima 1, 3, and 4. Well, we got the documentation right away. Everybody had access to it right away, didn't they? Here's Harvard University.
Firstly,
5 days after.
Units 1 through 3 are suffering core damage.
Are suffering. Now, I put the pictures down in the right-hand side for everybody.
This
is Harvard.
Perhaps
5 days
spent fuel
after.
pool accidents as well.
Perhaps. Have a look at the pictures. You make up your own mind, okay? Perhaps. There is no spent fuel pools. They're gone, see?
Spent fuel pool is...
Which is the reactor cores every 18 months for up to a decade or two before they can move it anywhere else on the site. It's all kept on the site. Everything is kept on that site. 5 million pounds in each reactor. 6 reactors on that site. Every 18 months they have to switch that out. 200 or 400 train cars of iron ore and chemicals to get a gram.
Located at the top of the reactor building, which in each case is damaged. Units 1 and 3, in fact, destroyed at that location.
In fact, destroyed at that location. March the 16th. MIT. Let's go Stanford first, it's a short one.
Stanford University.
We are very, very lucky today to have 2 real experts on this topic. The first is Matthew Wald from the New York Times.
Although it's a mess to try to cope with a meltdown, or 3 meltdowns in the spent fuel pool right after a tsunami.
3 meltdowns and fuel pools after a tsunami. April 11th. Go ahead and read Matthew Wald's stories now where he's working for, he's gone now, he was at New York Times at that time. Now he's working for these pro-nuclear PR firms. He's disgusting. There he is, though. 1 month after the accident at Stanford, April 11th, 2011. 2011. And so I might as well play MIT. And so I put pictures in this stuff to give you more context. That's not them, that's me.
I'd like to welcome our own students from nuclear science and engineering and other members of the community here at MIT, and also visitors,
March the 15th,
I think, from elsewhere.
And shortly after 3:30, there was a hydrogen explosion in the building of reactor 1. So when of that explosion?
So that's an explosion, all right? Look at it. That's March the 12th.
Explosion. Not long after, the evacuation zone was extended to 20 kilometers radius.
And it was bye-bye Japan right there. Because these are many, many, many Chernobyls. But remember, this is only 5 days after, right?
On Monday at 11 a.m., so this is now on the third day, there was a hydrogen explosion of building of reactor 3. In the meantime...
So look at reactor 3, the fuel pools, which are reactor cores, are no different than the core that was in the building it was running at the time. They take 3,450 fuel assemblies. Each assembly is 80 rods. Each assembly, and each rod is 18 pounds and 12 feet long. It's 282,000 rods.
Reactor 2, fuel rods, what is reported to have been fully uncovered, and they quite soon began to inject seawater
Borated seawater. Well, no, you didn't. You couldn't get there to inject the borated seawater. He didn't know it at the time, apparently. But let him keep going.
Seawater. At 6:14 a.m. on Tuesday, that's today, of course, but since they're 13 hours ahead of us, that was quite a while ago now.
And the tsunami just ran through 400 miles of the coastline. There was no way anybody got in there.
There was a third explosion. This was in reactor 2. This
50
was
feet of water
inside,
came
as far as we
through
can tell, inside or near the containment. And another worry that arose was on that same day was that the reactor 4 building, reactor 4 is adjacent to reactor 3.
And so it looks like there's 2 people up there at the top of the building. I zoomed in on that. That's one person that could be photoshopped in. And if you don't understand how that works, I'll explain it to you some other time. But that's what Seth Dorn is doing.
Was observed to be a flame, and this was sort of at the same time that
homeless who never came back. If you're that close to the fuel rods, as you can imagine, the building just blew up. Caught fire, blew up. You can't get in there. You can't get into Chernobyl. You can't get in any of these reactors. The robots all die, but we're supposed to believe somebody's in there running around.
Levels were increasing further. There was a lot of suspicion that this fire was in the spent fuel pool. However, since that time, TEPCO has said that there was an oil leak in a water.
There's an oil leak in the pump, not an explosion. See, look at the building. Is that not an explosion? Or an oil leak? What do you think it is?
Pump, and that was what was the cause of the fire.
So was it an oil leak that caught fire, a bunch of oil burning off, or was it an explosion? Well, this is... I put those pictures there to help you understand it. Because that's how I roll, baby. Roll, baby. And we're up to the 1 hour. So, 40 million becquerels per square, meter. 400 billion neutrons released per square meter surface of spent fuel pools between March the 13th. Neutrons. And that's why those isotopes, those atoms rather, that are full of isotopes in the Pacific Ocean are so deadly. It's because of this phenomenon that nuclear has. This is why we're so scared of terrorist laws. That's why we have terrorist laws to contain nuclear waste. Even tiny amounts of it, even the stuff you know, think about how nuclear has really just truly wrecked every community with a hospital. People with loved ones with cancer are trying to do the moral and ethical thing to save their loved ones, and they'll liquidate their assets to do it. And they'll take them to a hospital in desperation and sign away on a piece of paper and allow these people to inject nuclear waste, they call it chemotherapy, into our loved ones in our own hospitals. And people there don't even understand what they're actually doing. They got a job, and this is the prescription, here's the drug, and they pull it out of the bottle, and they do that all day long with all kinds of other stuff. And that's how they see that. They're actually not informed. They don't understand it. And the isotopes are given to them. It's from a chain reaction. That's why only 2% of people taking that treatment live any longer than they were expected to without it. And they probably didn't have cancer in the first place. And we know cancer is extremely overdiagnosed, but people panic and they do everything and they liquidate everything. And that's how the industry has thrived. And that's why the nuclear PR firms thrive, is because they live off that misery, that agony, that deceit, that deception, that misrepresentation, that murder. There's murder in each of your hospitals. That's how bad nuclear is. We take our loved ones to the hospital, we inject it into them and finish them off. Takes a couple of weeks or a few days or a couple of months to lose all their hair, and then they die. And only 2% survive. How can we continue to do it? Well, they're still killing the dogs and beagle puppies. Dr. Raymond Gilmedy in Loveless Respiratory Research Institute. They really truly can. They got no intentions of stopping. They've never tried to cure it. The only solution from giving any animals at Dr. Raymond Gilmedy's was death. Why would you consider it any different when the study shows the exact same thing happens for humans? How can you ignore that significance? How can you ignore that abomination for something that is predicated, its whole existence they can only survive because no one shines a light on them. No one says, hey, wait a second, it's not like a banana, you retard, shut up. It's not like walking in the sunshine, you moron, get fucking out of here. Hey, cut his fucking mic, he's a lying sack of shit. You'll never see it. It'll be coming one of these days when I get the equipment I need. I raise enough money to finally go out and get the stuff I need. We'll do that many interviews that we'll nail that crap out of these people. But it's too late. We got to get busy and stop the reactor. So let's come over and say good day to everybody. Camera got me tortured today. Hugs, everyone. Thank you, everybody. Not a raving lunatic today. Jeffrey. And everybody, I don't know where I'm to worms. Pam, Alex, Emter, Shani, Nolan, Jen Brooks, got Miss Milky the Clown. You'll find links. I'll find the higher quality, a beautiful girl by Dina. Thomas Ackerman, hi buddy. Emthers, and you'll find Thomas's and a whole lot of links, a beautiful girl by Dina. Kevin Blanche's material and documentation. Kevin's walked the coastline over and over and over and over. Documented it in short, neat videos with just enough rage to satisfy the meat ones too. Siegfried, Shanikin, everybody. Hugs for everybody. Bruce, anybody I did miss, my apologies. Jan's quoting NRC FOIA, the Unit 4 spent fuel pool while suffering a total loss of water along with an ability to, can't read it, I'm glass waste, structural damage. Oh yeah, I remember on, the freaking camera hates me, right? Hey. I'm not going to aim on a bad shot like that. Aim on a bad shot like this. I'll change it to cameras. I can't do that anymore. It's been doing that to us a lot lately. I'll take it today and forward. Illusions, Siegfried, everybody I did miss. Hugs for everybody. Remember, you're not alone in this fight. You're not on your back in this fight. You're not in a position to walk away in this fight. And we keep begging for the system to stop lying about bananas and potato chips and walking in sunshine and getting on airplanes. And it's like sleeping next to somebody. And nobody's ever died from radiation. These just twisted, demented fables they cook up, and no one to hold them accountable. Well, that world is long gone. This is our watch. And we're going to do a lot of moral things that has never been done before. And isn't that shocking that we even have to think and act and even say words like that? And that's the reality that we dealt with, and that's the reality that has to go away for the rest of the species on this planet to even have an opportunity to survive. Looks for everybody. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. See you then.